Hi friends, today I am going to walk you through how to draw a really simple robot icon. An icon that you can use within your visual note taking that's relatively fast to put together. I'm going to step you through that now.
Hi, I'm Hayley, Chief Doodler at Thoughts Drawn Out. I'm all about getting creativity working so I can help you to make your mark.
So I've done a sample for us to work off so you can see what we're heading towards. Okay, so we are going to now redraw this more slowly, and I'm going to talk you through it. Okay, so we're starting with our inking pen. I'm on a fresh layer and I'm using my outline color, which is black. Now, when I do a robot, I always start with the head, which is either a square or a rectangle. So I'm going to go and add in that head. Now I'm going to rely on the snapping tool. If you could see that there, I drew the square and then I held my stylus down so that it snapped those lines into straight lines. It's not a perfect square, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be. Now I'm going to leave a gap and draw the body, which is essentially the same shape but a little bit bigger. As you can see, those lines are pretty rough, pretty squiggly, but for the purposes of our robot, they'll work fine. So I now have the head and the body. Now I like to connect those two up with what I imagine to be like a stretchy, springy kind of neck. And I do that by adding a few curves, which once again, I will hold the stylus down so that they jump into nice curves and then just connect those down to the body. Now, using some similar curved shapes, I'm going to add a sequence of curves down either side, like this, to form the arms. Usually takes about 3 or 4 curves. I make them around about the same length as the body. So I'm holding that stylus at the end as well to make those curves nice and smooth. For a hand, I'm going to add a rectangle shape and I'm going to add a line as if it's like a bit of a pincer hand. We go rectangle with a line. I used to draw these robots with full legs, but I found that it's a lot faster to just make them hovering robots. So similarly to how we've done the arms, actually just come through and add a few curves at the bottom to make the base of the robot. Now, the trick there to make it look like it is actually hovering is you need to give it a shadow, as you can see with the sample one there. So if I just pick up that grey that I used underneath, I come under and draw a semicircle, hold that so that it snaps, drop fill that in grey. Now it looks like it's hovering because we've added that shadow. Okay, going back to black. Now, other details. And this is where you might be able to change it up a bit and make it your own. But to finish off that head, I like to give it a little antenna on top. So I add a semicircle, a squiggly line, and then a circle on the top. I go with 2 squares for eyes. A big rectangle for the mouth. And I add some teeth on there as well. They're all a little bit wonky, but I quite like that. I think it adds to the character when they're not perfectly square and they're a bit wonky. Now, this space down here on the chest, you can do many, many different things with this space depending on how you are using this robot and what it is there to represent. This is a really usable space to add a message, add particular instructions, add another element to the image. So consider how you might use that kind of functional space on the chest of the robot. For today, I'm just going to keep it simple and add 4 big buttons like in our test case. There we go. So that's pretty much it for the outline. That's all of the detail that you would need. Now, if you were in a big hurry, you could just drop fill this. As you can see, every piece is closed. None of those shapes are open. So if you were in a big hurry, you could literally just come in, drop fill all of the portions or even just some of the portions, the major bits, and leave the rest and it would work. But as you can see with my previous robot, I did things a little bit different. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to come in on a layer underneath. I picked this nice bluey grey for the major parts of the robot. Now I'm on a layer underneath my outline and I'm going to trace inside, doesn't have to be perfect, these major shapes and let it snap into a square. And then I'm going to drop fill that shape. I'm going to do the same in the body. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We can always fill in any gaps later. You can see we are rapidly adding colour. I'm going to colour in that same grey in the hands. What I missed on the first one was that little top of the antenna there. I'll add that one. Now on my other one I used a nice blue. I'm going to go a slightly greenier blue on this one. Now you can again repeat the shape inside and drop fill, but on these smaller fiddlier sections sometimes I find it easier to just colour it in. I'll literally just come through and add colour. But you might find it faster to literally go through and do an outline and drop fill the arms. That's totally up to you. The idea is though just get this base layer of colour in there as just solid colour shape as fast as you can. There we go. So I've coloured in those major pieces, and if I come up here and open up those layers, you can see how that colour is sitting on a separate layer to the outline. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tap on that coloured layer and I'm going to alpha lock it. That means that whatever I add to this layer can only add where there is already colour. I can't draw anywhere new on that layer. Now I'm going to come into my brush library and I'm going to come down to materials and then I'm going to select noise brush. Now I've got the opacity sitting kind of just below halfway and I've got it quite small. I'm using a screen size canvas and I've got it sitting at about 6%. Now what I want to do is if I'm starting with this aquary colour that I've got as my feature colour, I'm going to just come in and drag straight down from that colour to a deeper tone of the same colour family. And then I'm going to come back through and add a line around the edge to add some shadow. Now I'm going along the right and bottom of this shape. So we're imagining the source of light is coming from the top left and that this is where that shadow would be cast if the light was coming from the top left. Now, I can do this quite quickly because I don't have to worry about missing the shape because I have that alpha lock turned on. So I'm just adding this shadow where I think it would land. Go, and on that antenna. Okay, so you can see we've just got a bit of life and depth to it now because it looks like there are pieces where the light is hitting it and where there is shadow being cast. I'm going to repeat this same process for that dark grey colour. I'm going to come down a little. I might just turn the size up a little bit, just up, I think I went up maybe to 8%, just because the shapes are bigger. And I'm going to do the similar thing, tracing a line. Do a darker line on the right and the bottom, but I am going to just add a tiny bit on the other two sides of the head and the body, just to add some depth. And then I'm going to trace, so I might bring it down again and just a little tiny bit around the eyes, the mouth, and the buttons on the chest. Again, just as if a little bit of shadow is being cast. There we go. So we've got some nice depth happening there. Now, if I come up another layer on top and come back and choose that nice white color, I can now come and color in the, actually change back to my inking brush, color in the eyes and the mouth and the buttons in a nice crisp white, and that just really makes them pop off the page. There we go, our wonky-faced, wonky-smiled robot. Now, what is great with an icon like a robot is that it really, in the context of visual note-taking, it can really be used to represent a lot of different things. So, yes, it is a robot, and sometimes you might be specifically needing to draw a robot. But that robot could be a chatbot. It could be about artificial intelligence. Sometimes it can be about science or technology. Sometimes a robot is about science fiction. Sometimes we use robots or robotic instruments, equipment, when we are talking about process. Something is like a production line. So that's just a bit of an example there of the very varied concepts that a robot could be used to represent. And the great thing is when you're visual note taking, if you can draw a robot, you can use that same icon over and over and over again, and you could be meaning any of those suggestions I've got down the side, as well as a myriad of other things. Because this is just a standalone robot. If you imagine adding some other content to this, putting something on that chest space, putting something in the robot's hand, giving it a speech bubble, having it interact with another character within your picture, the possibilities really are endless. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial of me walking you through how to draw a really common icon that I use time and time again in my visual note taking. If you go back and look through my visual notes, I guarantee you will find examples of this exact robot that I have drawn. I couldn't even count the number of times I would have used it. So please go forth and make it your own, practice it, and start incorporating it into your own visual notes. Now, if you've liked today's video, please give it a like. And if you're not subscribed to my channel already, make sure to do that as well. So you never have to miss out on any future visual storytelling goodness. We've reached the end. So you know what that means. It's time for you to get out there and go and make your mark.